So, you decided to get something permanently on your body for the rest of your life? Well, me too. I decided to get a tattoo, and it was kind of half a spur of the moment decision, half a really calculated kind of I've really wanted this for a while decision, which is an odd mix, obviously. So, if we refer to my diary, it was the 11th of March 2017 when I wrote, I'm thinking of getting a tattoo, either saying just okay or something along the lines of time of your life. And this was the first time I'd ever thought of getting a tattoo that said okay, or the first time I thought of getting a tattoo along those lines. And something super minimal, and I knew exactly where I wanted it, just on my left arm. And I kind of milled about a bit, and about a week later, I went back to my old house and saw my family. And then on the way back home, I was like, I'll pop into the high street, go into some of the charity shops, see what they've got, and bought a few things. I was really, really happy. And I thought, I'm going to get a tattoo. That's what I'm going to do. And I did, all by myself. I went into the tattoo shop, which is crazy. I can't even go to the hairdressers by myself. I still don't think I could. I'm too scared I'll make a wrong decision, but I knew that this tattoo was the right decision. And I went to the tattoo shop, I showed the man. He said, yep, we can do that for you. When would you like it? And I said, dunno, sometime today, when can you do it? And he said, I'll just go and chat to the artist. Chat to the artist, came back and he was like, about 10 minutes. Terrifying. Yeah, it went from, oh my god, this might happen, to this is happening. And he was like, is that okay? I was like, yeah, sure. I didn't really know what I wanted exactly. I just knew, like, what I wanted and where. I didn't know how I wanted it to look precisely. And people talk a lot about it being kind of a relationship between your tattoo artist and the person, the client, that's me. And it definitely was. So I decided on the placement. I sat down and I'm freaking out. I'm texting all my friends to confirm whether or not this is right or not. And then I put my arm down. I said, yep, please do this, please tattoo me. And he did. It took 6 minutes, and it felt like I was kind of caught on a thorn bush. Like, it didn't feel, a lot of people describe it as like a cat scratch, or almost like a blood test, but it's not. Like, for me it was super stingy, but it wasn't, yeah, it was just like going through a thorn bush, I think, is the best way to describe it, like a really thin, sharp kind of pain. It lasted 6 minutes, and I knew that I could probably take like up to half an hour. I knew it wouldn't take half an hour, but I knew that I'd probably be able to tolerate it for about that. And I only wanted a small tattoo, so I knew it would be a fast one. And I knew even if it really hurt, I could probably take it for a little while. And I did, and I'm really, really glad. So, obviously I'll give you a look at my tattoo. As you can see here, it says okay. It's lowercase and double spaced. So it's kind of divided. It also means there's a lot of possibilities with my tattoo, so if I decided to get any more, or if I wanted to put something around it, or if I ever wanted it removed, there's a lot of scope there around the tattoo. I really love it. For me, okay is like my constant state of being, and I talked a lot about this at uni. I haven't really been feeling okay now and then, but also it's okay not to be okay. It's something that I've been really learning and having. There's this kind of illusion about adulthood that everything's always fine and that adults can just do things and you just become incredible and great, and it's really not that, and it's a learning process, and that you're not always going to be having the time of your life. The way that I look after my tattoo is obviously the way they told me in the shop, and you should always listen to your tattoo artist, but I'll give you a little bit of an idea about that. So what I do first is I wash my hands, make sure that they're completely clean. I do it underneath my nails, I do kind of up to my wrists, just like you would in a hospital, because you really don't want to get it infected. You're meant to treat your tattoo like an open wound, and you really want to keep it clean, especially if it's your first tattoo, because you don't know whether or not you're going to be allergic or how susceptible you are to bacteria and things getting in there, and you just don't want that to happen. After that, I pat it dry. with a clean towel and a soft towel. You can. Some people recommend paper towels. I just use a cloth one. Yeah, pat it dry, and once you've done that and you've dried off the rest, then you apply a thin layer of whatever your preferred tattoo cream is. Some places recommend a tattoo cream. I use the tattoo goo, and that's what I'm popping onto my tattoo there. And you just use a really tiny bit of this so the skin can absorb. This is something that you're meant to do 2 to 3 times a day, so it's pretty easy depending on what your routine is. But I just do it once when you wake up or after the shower, once when you're kind of at lunchtime, whatever, or you can do it like early evening when you get home, and then once in the late evening. One thing they do recommend is not to get too sweaty or have tight clothing on this area, because that will attract bacteria, but also it will just cause you some pain in that area. And yeah, that's it. That's the end of the kind of tattoo care process. You're meant to do this for 2 weeks. But you can do it up to a month, just to keep washing it, make sure it's moisturised. You can move on to more of a scented moisturiser, if you like, and you can be a little less delicate with it, but your tattoo is absorbing ink for up to 6 weeks, so you've got to be really careful. If you pick any of the scabs or rub off of any of the dry skin, you can be taking out some ink from your tattoo, and that's not what you want. Obviously, frequently asked questions are, does it hurt? Yeah, of course it hurts. I mean, I talked about this a little bit already, but for me it just felt a bit like a thin scratch or like a bramble. I got tattooed obviously on the upper arm, near the inside, which is where people say it hurts the most, besides the feet. And it was completely fine, and I don't even like blood tests. It was really tolerable, and I think on a bigger piece with some shading, obviously it would hurt more, but for me, I could handle it pretty well. Another question is, what should you get? Obviously, you've got to make sure that what you're getting tattooed onto you is what you're going to want for the rest of your life. It hasn't really sunk in that this is going to be on me forever, but I knew that it was right. I would say, like, if you have any doubts about what you're getting, or if you're doing it because your friends are doing it, or if you're just getting a tattoo for the sake of it, obviously that can be super fun, but it also runs the risk that you're going to regret it later on. And the last one is it scary? And I think this is a good question for me to answer, because I can be quite apprehensive and quite anxious around talking to people about what I want. Like, as I said, I can't go to the hairdressers by myself, don't like the dentist. I don't really like talking to people about myself and what I personally want, and that's why this was such a big process for me, and it was so important for me to go all by myself. And I managed it, which was really great. But yeah, it is a little bit scary, of course it is. It's just like, it's going into somewhere and saying, please put this on me forever, and trusting that person to do a good job, and them trusting you that you'll like it, and you're not kind of just talking to them and saying something you don't mean. So my tattoo artist was really adamant to let me have that time to decide where I want it, and admittedly he did try and kind of put it on a more private part of my body and say that, you know, like, your first tattoo isn't always going to be the best tattoo that you have, which is true, but I said to him, arguably, this might be the only tattoo I ever get, so it has to be right. And I knew where I wanted it, I just didn't know exactly how I wanted it to look. And you don't have to know, but I think it's important to have a kind of strong idea in mind about what you want and where you want it. I mean, obviously, sometimes it can be a little bit different, so tattoo artists will resize your tattoo, will work on the placement with you to make it look the most appealing it can be, but don't let them change it too much. If it's not what you want, then there's no point in you getting it. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you have any other questions about my tattoo or about tattoo care, please put them in the comments. Subscribe. I've got a tattoo now, so I'm even cooler than before, which means my content's going to be even better. And I'm being pretty consistent with this YouTube thing, so, you know, if you don't subscribe, then you won't keep up with it and you'll be missing out. So, have a nice afternoon. Adios.